Welcome, DDS Squad Pod. I am your host, the former backyard wrestling champion known as the Enforcer, Len Anderson, or as my good friends know, I'm just Lenny Beebe. Hanging out, chilling here tonight with a special edition of the DDS Squad Pod in our series of interviews that I've been trying to work out and do, kind of something a little different than what we're used to doing with COVID-19 still ravaging our country and the world, putting guys in the professional wrestling business out of work for a good while now. We kind of want to give back a little bit, try to get some of these guys on, have a quick conversation with them, and maybe have you guys buy a t-shirt, you guys be aware of them, so you go to a show, you buy a ticket to see them, just to kind of support them. Guys who we've had contact with over the last few years that we've made some connections with, and some really cool stuff. Our last episode was Ethan Page, which we had some technical difficulties, but that should be coming up. Will be out before this one, so hopefully you enjoyed that one. Tonight, I'll be having a great conversation with a friend of mine. I consider him a friend. Hopefully he considers me a friend. We'll see. We'll find out by the end of this interview. Rich Palladino, the voice of the Northeast independent wrestling scene. Rich Palladino is going to come on. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his beginnings in pro wrestling, and hopefully we're going to get into some discussion about Wrestlemania, with Wrestlemania coming out this weekend. As we record this, it is Tuesday, and Wrestlemania week has officially begun. Kind of a somber Wrestlemania week with COVID-19, coronavirus, changing the plans for Wrestlemania, moving from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, to the PC in Orlando, Florida. So definitely one of those weird type of situations for WrestleMania this year. But WrestleMania still will go on. It'll be 2 nights. I'm sure everybody's seen now the advertisement that it's too big for one night. Pre-taped, no spoilers. I'm avoiding all spoilers. I don't want to know. I know some of the card stuff that I've seen on Raw and SmackDown, and NXT, but mostly I'm going into this blind because I just, wrestling is a release. Hopefully you're watching this because you need a relief from what's going on in the real world, and I'm hoping to give you that. I'm hoping to be able to make you feel the way we feel about pro wrestling, and just kind of forget the rest of the world for a little bit, hang out, watch some wrestling, watch us talk wrestling, and no different today. Rich and I will talk about WrestleMania this weekend. 2 nights, Saturday, starting at 6 o'clock on the WWE Network, also available on pay-per-view and Fight TV app. Pre-show starts at 6, pay-per-view starts at 7. From what I hear, it's a 3-hour and 15-minute runtime, both nights. So I think for everybody who was bitching and complaining last year that WrestleMania was too long, myself included, this year, having it split into 2 nights, I think that's going to be a bit of a welcome. We're going to feel a little bit, maybe we can enjoy it a little bit more because of the timing of it. Imagine 6.5 hours on Sunday of WrestleMania. I'm not complaining too much. I love my wrestling, and when it's good. And I think that what WWE is doing is a good thing. I know some people think it should be canceled, and yeah, maybe so. I can see their side of it. I can see the point, those people's points of view as to why they should have canceled it. Mania will feel weird without a crowd, empty arena. But it's kind of like Vince is making his movie that he's always wanted to make, his WrestleMania movie. So I'm holding out all hope that this show will be awesome. I think it will be. I hope it will be. And Rich and I will kind of get our feelings out there and let you know what we're thinking of, what match we're looking forward to the most. And also, like I said, touch a little bit on his history in professional wrestling. The man's been in business, I believe, 30 years. So this is going to be really fun. It's going to be a great time. Sit back, enjoy the ride, and remember to do the dope shit. And welcome to the DDS Squad Pod. I'm going to do something a little different here. Let me try this out here. I got somebody special coming on the show today, so let me try to steal his gimmick for a second here. Introducing first, Massachusetts, a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He's the voice of the Northeast Wrestling independent scene. He's my friend. He is Rich Palladino. Rich, how are you today, my friend?
I'm all right. I'm as good as anybody else can be during a pandemic, which I'd never heard of until, now. So I've heard of an epidemic.
Right.
I'd never heard of a pandemic. So never lived through one of these in all my many, many years on Earth. So none of us have. This sucks.
None of us have. Right. This is I hate to use the term, but it's uncharted territory, right?
It really is.
Something that we're kind of navigating as we go. And I know independent wrestling is I know it's not your main source of income. It's kind of like your side hustle, but it's definitely kind of dried up for the time being.
It's big time.
I don't know what your plans were originally for this weekend, but I was coming down for big balls, and pretty much primarily that. I was flying down. Ryan and I were flying down Sunday morning. We were coming for big balls. We were staying with my friends who live in Orlando, and we were going to Disney World on Monday, coming home on Tuesday. So how much of a wrench did this throw in your weekend plans?
Huge. I was leaving tomorrow morning. I was going to fly down on Wednesday morning, April 1st. I was going to stay with John Walters, actually lives not too far from Tampa, within an hour. So we had everything lined up. I was going to stay with him for a day or two, and then my first assignment was WrestleCon. I was going to be working for Northeast Wrestling, helping out helping out behind the scenes, kind of working their tables, because they were going to have Jerry Lawler, Renee Young, Darby Allin, and had some kind of affiliation with Jericho's appearance on Saturday. So I was going to be working for 2 days with Kevin Quinn, helping out at the table. I had Shimmer booked for Friday afternoon. Obviously, Beyond Wrestling Big Balls on Sunday, and then GCW was going to use me for at least a couple of the events, but Brett and I never even got to a point of finalizing which it was, whether it be Janela's spring break or whatever. But I was going to be down there early. A bunch of us fellow ring announcers that only interact on Twitter and whatnot, we were going to actually try and get together for a lunch or dinner and drinks or something, just people that you only interact with online.
Yeah.
Thought it'd be nice. We could all kind of get together and just shoot the shit and whatever. But everything got blown up. So ironically, everything went down probably a couple days after I'd finalized my flights. So
great timing, right? You see, non-refundable and all that bullshit that goes along with that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll give you a credit.
Say it again? Oh, yeah. We got.
Well, WrestleMania weekend's more than just, the shows too, even just for you and for all of us, it's a reunion, right? It's like the family reunion where everybody gets together and gets to visit and spend time together. Guys, like you said, you only talk to online and that you don't see very often, but maybe once a year. So those of you who are home watching, listening, hopefully this can give you a little bit of a bridge and you get a little bit of a break from everything else. And, listen to me and Rich shoot the shit here a little bit.
That's what it's all about. I mean, there's nothing else to do. I mean, I work from home for my real job, and so I'm used to this. But, now my wife's working on the floor above me, and we have 14-year-old twins that are home. I mean, I would just say this. If my kids were like infants or, 4 or 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, I probably would have taken my own life by now because I don't know how people do it. Just because
that's Ryan 14, right now.
Yeah, I mean, at 14, I can tell you my son, he wakes up, he'll come down for some kind of food. Then he goes back up to his room, puts on his headset, and he's playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, MLB, NHL. And that's like, he's like a gremlin. He just comes out like, the shades are down in his room. He's got those stupid LED lights the kids strap all around the ceiling and whatnot. And that's it. We see him for meals. So, and then my daughter, his twin sister, she's just, she's in her room on her phone, chatting with her friends, and watching TikTok videos until she decides to come out for food. So that I can deal with.
Yeah,
that I can deal with. But it's nice because, like today, my wife and I we took a walk with the dogs during lunch. It's things that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do. But I've never been home for this extended amount of time as I am right now. I don't like it. So I'm dying to get back to doing some shows. So.
Oh yeah.
Gonna be a while.
I definitely I get it. So I got 2 in college, and now all their courses are online. And then I got 1 in high school and 1 in middle school. So it's like, and I got to work. I work for an electric company. I work for the utility, so we got to keep the lights on. So I got to work. Right now, they're kind of separating us a little bit, and just trying to keep everybody separate. It's 1 to a truck. It's my work partner is now working out of a satellite office in a different territory that we have up in Bosworth, Connecticut. So he's working out of there. I'm working out of Groton. And then my hours are now changed. I'm working 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. to kind of offset any exposure for the foreseeable future, and which will mean I'm taking a vacation day on Monday because there's no way I'm staying up till 11:30 with Wrestlemania and then going to work at 5 a.m. the next morning. That's just not going to cut it for me. But I get it. The kids are all in their own corners of the house. The wife is, my wife's a bus driver, so she's relying on the school system, and she doesn't work. So she's not working. So she's home with more time on her hands too. And it's definitely an adjustment for all of them. And thankfully, at least I get that respite where I'm out of the house for 8 hours. They don't have that. They're but teenagers, man, they're different animals. Ryan's chasing his 2 little ones around, and Jamie's chasing his kids around. He's actually got to go to work too. He works at Electric Boat, so he's working. But but wrestling is really the only break from normal that we're getting right now. And AEW's taping with empty arenas, and WrestleMania going on this weekend with an empty arena just blows my mind. We've called you. You've called into Busted Open, and they call you like the wrestling encyclopedia. You got that knowledge up here. Can you remember a time of anything like this where you see empty arena shows that aren't for gimmicks?
No, never. And honestly, you kind of take for granted how important the fans are to a show, like how much it makes the performance. Everybody said like ECW back in the day was the fans that made ECW what it was, and it wasn't like pandering to them. It was a fact because they were such a vital part of the overall product. I think that goes for everything. My son and I were actually, just strange, we get to actually have dinner every night now, and we were talking, and I said, well, Matt,
there you are.
Yeah. But we were talking at dinner because Massachusetts is they extended our lockdown until May 4th. So that just got announced today. So that means non-essential stores and businesses won't open until Monday, May 4th. And we're supposed to stay in our homes until May 4th. So Uncharted Territory Season 3 was supposed to start on April 30th. And I'm not here to drop any news or anything. Nothing has been made public. But, I look at that and I say, well, damn, my birthday was the next morning. I was like, Drew, if we're starting Uncharted Territory on April 30th, I work from home. Let's get drunk. Let's have a good time, So now it's like,
applause.
Yeah, so I'm going to assume that may end up being postponed. We talked about it a little bit on Positive Contact, which you can watch on YouTube right now. We talked about it a little bit last week, just like we're like, all right, well, we know American Ron is going to be coming up in July. He's finalizing paperwork on the venue and whatnot. But I believe the date we had was July 26th. So, but we'd like to have some build up.
Yeah.
But this really is, like you said, uncharted territory in itself. I've never, ever experienced anything like this. The closest thing I can compare it to, being an old fart that I am, is when AWA's business was going down the shitter. I remember they were at the point where they were recording their syndicated show in a TV studio with no fans, but that was only because they were renting out arenas for their TV tapings and getting, 150 people. So they did that. You can find them somewhere on YouTube, but it was a brief period. They only did a couple of tapings there, but it's very awkward. So
Oh
It is
yeah.
what it is.
You've been watching Raw and following the WWE product. What do you think of how they've been handling the empty arenas? You know, they've kind of been showing some older matches, building up the Mania a little bit. I thought the promos last night that they were doing on Raw were just fantastic. That looking directly into the camera,
Yeah.
I think it felt a little bit better. What's your opinion been on the product lately?
I agree 100%. The promos, definitely very impactful because instead of talking to an audience, now we are the audience. They are looking at that camera, into that camera, and speaking right to us. So for years, you noticed WWE, like case in point, like The Rock, whenever he would cut a promo, he would purposely never look at the heart, at whatever camera was on him. He would never look at it. Now it's like they have to all recondition themselves and, you know, try and refocus that attention on the hard cam. You know, I think the promo, I think last night they set a lot of great stories. I mean, and I'll go all over the place too. But like today is the anniversary of the first WrestleMania. 35 years ago today was WrestleMania 1. And I had posted something on Facebook and on Twitter that, let's see, I was 1985. I was 15 years old. And I went to the Boston Garden and I bought a ticket and I sat, I'll never forget, I was like maybe last row on the floor and I watched it on closed circuit TV. And I put on both of my posts, I said, young people, wrap your head around that for a moment, okay? So, you know, and so it's 35 years ago. And I remember just watching it on TV with like 10,000 fans at the Boston Garden. It was like the greatest experience. So now somebody had commented and said, well, now they're robbing us of a WrestleMania this year. No, let's get it straight. Nobody's robbing us. I mean, the pandemic is robbing us. I mean, so if you're going to blame, you know, Vince or Triple H or whomever, I mean, they want to give you WrestleMania. So,
Yeah.
You know, I think they were smart going with the, you know, so big we have to do it over 2 days. You know, I think that's great because nobody's going to sit and watch empty arena wrestling for 8 hours.
No, and I think, you know, talking about the fans who feel robbed or jaded or whatever, however you want to describe it, you just got to be happy that we have this bit of a break, this little bit to take our mind off of, you know, the thousands that are sick, the hundreds that are dying, you know, the things that go into this that make it a reality. And you've got this break from reality with professional wrestling. Be happy you have that, you know, and I know some people, you know, are shitting on Vince for running the show and saying it's a money grab, blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever the decision was, whatever made him go that way, I'm just happy that I have this break and the semblance of normalcy in my life by being able to watch pro wrestling.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And everybody's talking about it being a money grab. Well, most of the people already subscribe to the network anyways. How is that a money grab when he just lost out on 75,000 tickets?
Yeah.
Physical tickets for people sitting in a stadium, you know, to watch his show. So I don't look at it as a money grab whatsoever. Yeah, you know.
I'll cue us in here. We had a technical difficulty there. We lost Rich for about 30 if it was my Wi-Fi. I've got, you know, kids at home here playing on Netflix and all the bullshit that goes along with that with the pandemic. So we were talking about WrestleMania, people's opinion of WrestleMania being a money grab and how we disagree with that.
100%. It's not a money grab. It's a money loss for them.
Exactly what it is.
I mean, I don't even know how much tickets were going for, but 75,000 fans at least, you know, 40 or 50 bucks a ticket. I mean, it's not a money grab. They're just trying to give you what people are accustomed to every year for the past 35 years. So,
like I said, I think people should just be happy that we have wrestling to give us this respite, give us this break from all the nonsense and just enjoy the show no matter what. Like I'm going into it. I haven't really been following along closely as, you know, up until the last couple of weeks. And I've been avoiding all spoilers. Everything's been taped, right? They've taped Raw, they taped SmackDown, they've taped NXT. Everything's been, and they taped WrestleMania. Reports came out last Friday that Roman Reigns has now pulled himself from the show. And that a couple other wrestlers have also supposedly come down with coronavirus, so they had to change things up. Last night we saw Austin Theory make his debut on Raw, and now he's also in the tag title match with Angel Garza against Street Profits. So opportunities come in situations like this for guys. But I'm I joked with Ryan and the guys, and I said, well, Jesus Christ, they heard Drew was going to run against him, so now they're just going to steal his concept of a secret show and not tell you what the matches are.
Yeah, it's pretty much the deal. But they're doing what they can. So, I love hearing people complain about it, but I think people should embrace it because, we need a break. Impact, I think they have like another 3 or 4 weeks in the can that they can broadcast, in front of an audience, MLW as well. But as far as AEW, but you notice how AEW changed from a couple weeks ago when you saw everybody, the boys were at ringside betting on the matches, and then that's already gone. You may have noticed too, like I like the production WWE is doing much better now with the hard cam facing the ramp.
Yes.
Which is what AEW did a couple of weeks ago, which is what Ring of Honor has been doing for a long time. Yeah. So it's different ways to look at it, but people can shit on all they want. I'll tell you one thing. People are going to get more of a professional wrestling product.
Yeah.
And for years and years where WWE's been, pushing entertainment, you don't have a choice. This is going to be strictly wrestling. Like it's, and there's some gimmicks, whatever the Firefly Funhouse match is going to be. And
the Boneyard match.
Yeah. So, they're going to give you a little bit of something. I expect a couple of surprises that are going to blow. I personally, the fan in me, like last night, the way they showed the main event from WrestleMania 35 with Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda Rousey, and of course that controversial finish. I was expecting Ronda Rousey to kind of show up and, don't worry about Shayna. You never really beat me. I'm kind of waiting for that whole story to unfold.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to get there because there's the connection between Shayna and Ronda too with the 4 horsewomen from MMA. So that's something that we've been kind of anticipating over the last couple of years. And Ronda was that last piece that we were hoping to get like a Survivor Series style matchup against, the 4 horsewomen of NXT and WWE, whatever you want to call those guys. Sasha, Becky, Charlotte, and Bayley.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's just a weird time to be a wrestling fan. It's a weird time. My heart goes out for, my friends that are making a living at professional wrestling right now. Fortunately, I have a couple of friends that do have contracts with, say, Evolve or what have you, but a lot of these guys that are just doing it on the weekends on an independent level, waiting to break out to that next level.
This was their biggest weekend of the year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. AG had just had a whole bunch of merchandise. Did I steal your spot there?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I was going to say AG and Dickinson. Those two guys were poised to have huge weekends, and now what?
Exactly. So it's all temporary. So I just, I hope everybody there is okay. But real life, my wife's already taken a pay cut. She has a good management, she works in the fashion industry in a management position. And, she just found out she's taken a pay cut. And a lot of their stores are being closed and now extended even longer. So who knows what the future of, everybody's future is going to be. So, these guys are going to get right back at it. Dickinson's working out like an animal, more so than ever. But, he was going to be going to California and training with Josh Barnett, for his match with Suzuki and as part of Bloodsport, which I was praying that I would have been announcing. Yeah, man, I did it last year. It was awesome. It was really awesome, except for the awkward part of my fat ass climbing into a ring with no ropes, to get into. But it was still definitely a career highlight because I got to announce Minoru Suzuki. So, oh my God,
goosebumps. It's freaking
Yeah, I was actually scared. He actually walked towards me and Chris Levin. We were standing in one of the corners, and he kind of took the towel off his head and kind of flung it in our direction. And he looked back at the camera, and I just turned to Chris and I go, I think I shit myself a little bit right there. But he was a really, he's just so ridiculous watching him and Barnett and doing what they did and all that stuff. But, Dickinson was really looking forward to all that stuff. So, You know, I like to say short-term pain, long-term gain, but
I hope so.
this short-term pain thing's been a lot longer than anybody wants it to be. So
I'm kind of hoping that something comes up around SummerSlam, because the Northeast area is in my opinion, is the lifeblood of professional wrestling. It's the feeder system. If you really look at it close, you look at Fury's school and how many guys he's got on TV right now, how many guys that have come through Beyond Wrestling, that have come through Chaotic Wrestling, that have come through GCW and the XWA and Northeast Wrestling, which you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
All these, companies are kind of the feeder system for these big guys. And I'm kind of hoping that, WrestleCon got canceled. Maybe they kind of look at SummerSlam weekend and say, hey, it's Boston. It's a major metropolis area, major airport. We could fly guys in, Thursday night we start with, and this is kind of what the squad and I have been talking about. We were like, well, what the hell? Let's do Thursday night. I'm sure Uncharted Territory is going to be running. Let's go to Uncharted Territory on Thursday. Let's go to SmackDown on Friday, or if there's an indie show, let's go to that instead. Or maybe NXT on Saturday, and then come home Sunday and watch SummerSlam on TV. So hopefully more people kind of get that idea, and you start to see GCW bring the collective up that way, or all the stuff that was postponed gets rescheduled to another major hub, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it was almost, easier said than done when it comes to contracts and buildings and all that. But, to me, it's like, okay, well, we're not getting a WrestleMania in a big stadium, but should everything be okay in August? Could they move SummerSlam to Gillette Stadium? But from the business side of things, like I said, with contracts and whatnot, I'm sure that's easier said than done. But, I was actually talking with somebody in the WWE system, and I just said, man, it would just be nice if they could just do SummerSlam at Gillette. So, and the guy on the other line said, yeah, he goes, but, what are they going to do about the Garden? I said, exactly. So, but it'd be nice. But the other thing, too, is, here we are, it's pretty much April 1st. So need a lot of time to build all those things. And, I do a thing out here, the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, that my friend Joe Bruin puts together every year. That's already canceled.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's in July. So, and I've known Joe for years. I'm like, really? We're already canceling? And he said, I just can't take the risk because, he said it was a tough decision to make, and I get it, because he can't take the risk with airfares and hotels, and he has it at the Crown Plaza in Warwick, nice hotel, and and nobody wants to get stuck with that. So I'm devastated because my favorite's going to be this Wild Samoans. We're going to be inducted into, because Joe always puts some of the local talent in, and then he puts in, some big names, obviously, that headlined all around here. And, oh, God, I hear footsteps. I got a feeling one of my kids is coming down here.
Oh, that's fine.
It doesn't matter. No. But the Samoans were going to be inducted, which I thought was going to be really cool. The fan in me has a 2-pack action figure of theirs that I want to get signed. And Bob Backlund was going to be there too. So, all my 80s favorites that I grew up watching. And now that's canceled. So all in all, with Tampa and everything that I already had on my calendar, I've already lost about 10 bookings already. So, but again, like I was saying earlier, I feel more for my friends that are making a living doing this. I'm fortunate enough to have, my full-time job. But ironically, people had been, I've on like my third or fourth run of T-shirts, my one fall T-shirts, and I was running out of them. I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I've bought 3 orders. It's getting old. I got to design something new. People have been asking for them, so I just got 25 printed up.
Okay.
And I had a whole list of sizes and people and what shows they were going to be at to buy it, whether it was up in Limitless in Maine or whatever.
Yep.
And they came in 2 days after my last show, which was on Friday, March 13th. But I will say I did something I've never done before, and it's pandemic related. But there was a fan that used to come to a lot of the Beyond shows in Providence and hit me up on Twitter and said he wants to buy one. Can you mail it to me? I said, yeah, give me your address. Kind of find out he lives like 10 miles from where I live.
Oh,
And I was like, nobody should have to pay another $6 or $7 for my T-shirt. I feel bad enough taking people's money as it is. So I literally drove to the dude's house because, like I said, it was like an 18-minute ride. And he's been a big fan for a long time. His name's Eric Miller, really nice dude. And I probably hadn't seen him in a while. I probably since American Rana, I just remember seeing him at shows. Same way, I see you. I see.
yeah.
You build like these friendships with people.
You do.
It was really nice. I was like, dude, I'm not going to make you pay $7. I said, I got to get out of my house anyways. It was like last Tuesday or Wednesday. I literally drove to his house in very close by in Rhode Island and just hand delivered it. He Venmoed me, and I was like, dude, I'm going to come bring it to you. And we sat in the parking lot. I mean, we sat outside his house 6 feet apart, and
distancing.
yeah, and we shot the shit for a little while, and it was really nice. It was a nice break because we need those breaks. So
yeah, as much as we're apart, I think having even just like the conversation we're having now, I think it's important. You got to be able to make those contacts and still have you got to engage that brain, have those adult conversations, and shoot the shit and just enjoy each other's company, even though we're not together. You can still, technology is what it is now. That it's like my Wrestlemania plans. So to give you a bit of a background, my best friend growing up, who passed away in 2002 in a car accident, is who got me into wrestling as a kid. So him and I'd always, as kids, had Wrestlemania parties from middle school through high school. So I tried to keep that tradition going. And this year I can't do that because I don't. Everybody's got to be safe. You got to keep the distance. You got to do what you got to do to keep this mitigated. So we're doing it over Skype. We're taking the WrestleMania party. It's going to be a viewing party, and we're going to all watch at home and just hang out via Skype and have some wings and beers and kind of reconnect through technology. So that's what our plan is, to try to do some dope shit that way, without being together, but being together at the same time.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, and for me, it's going to be weird. I said it to my wife. I'm like, I haven't had gone to or been part of a WrestleMania party for a while because I've been doing the, on-site stuff for the past few years.
Yeah.
Although last year, I will say, I drove home. I watched WrestleMania. I was in Jersey, but I watched it from my sofa because, I surprised my son. My son had a doubleheader on that Sunday.
That's right.
I was only 5 hours away. I left after Janela's spring break, which was probably 3:45 in the morning. I was all pumped up too. I was all this adrenaline, and I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to go get a hotel. I'm not going to. I'm done working, and I was just going to get a ticket on StubHub or something and go to WrestleMania. And selfishly, I wanted to because I've known Kofi Kingston since the day he broke in. So, I really would have liked to have been there for that. But I said, you know what? I got 2 kids. One of them's just starting baseball. He was in an AAU league. He had a doubleheader. So I drove home. But all that piss and vinegar that I had to drive home faded once I hit the Merritt Parkway. I pulled into the first rest stop. There's 5 rest stops on the Parkway, which I love that. It's comforting. If you're hungry, you got to use the restroom. There's something legit there. I stopped at the first one. I got a big Diet Coke and a bag of beef jerky. I'm like, that's going to keep me awake for the next whatever it was, 2.5 hours left that I had to drive. The next rest stop, I pulled over and I just pulled a pillow out of the back seat of my car and I just fell asleep in the parking lot at the rest stop for probably 4 or 5 hours, and then ended up getting there for my son's game, surprised the hell out of him, which was great. And then we watched WrestleMania. And, so it's, so, I'll watch it with them. They're 14 now. I shouldn't say that. My daughter could care less now. She's already over the whole thing.
Yeah,
but
that's a big show for my kids to be sitting involved now. It's as they get older, it's a little bit more tough to get them to bite in. I don't know what it is that I don't know what it is that's different from when I was their age, when I got in and I got hooked and I couldn't get enough of it, to now. And it's I'm here by myself watching it. It's I don't know. It's what do I do to get them more into it? I don't know if I can. I bring the kids to Beyond. I bring them to some indie shows, and they love that. You've met the place. They love coming to the shows. but it's just like, I don't know. I just can't get. They got to that age, and it's like every now and then they'll poke their head in. Like where I had on Sunday, WrestleMania was on ESPN, and Austin walks through. He goes, "Oh, which one's this one?" And he stopped and watched for a little bit. But you know, it's not like it was when they were 9, 10, 11 years old.
Nah, it's funny. I've been married to my wife for, my God, 23 and a half years. And, you know, she always talks about when we first got married in 96, she used to come to all the indie shows with me. And then once we got more comfortable in the marriage, she was like, all right, I don't have to go to these anymore. But it's like she has no interest at all. But like on a rare, like when I have a Friday night off, you know, we'll just be sitting in the living room, and every now and again she'll let me like watch SmackDown or whatever. But she's, you know, either reading something or looking at something on her phone, but at least we're in the same room. But she was fully invested in that Dark Side of the Ring on Chris Benoit.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah, so which was, you know, great timing considering the pandemic. I mean, I knew it was releasing on March 24th, you know, last week. So, but she was fully invested in that, you know, just because she knew all the players. Actually, I got a newfound respect for my wife because they had all the interviews, and Dean Malenko was talking, and she goes, "Is that Dean Malenko?" Before they had put the name up. It was like the first time he came. I'm like, wow, pretty impressed.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, so, you know, but I mean, as far as like you said, watching it by yourself, it's the same thing. It's, you know, that's all I've been doing during this lockdown is, you know, I mean, we're keeping 6 feet of separation in our own home. I mean, like I said, the kids are in their rooms. You know, my wife doesn't want to watch what I want to watch. You know, I mean, my wife DVRs General Hospital every day. I mean, that's her jam. So
listen, I'm keeping myself a few episodes behind on General Hospital, so that way when they run out of episodes, I'm not too far behind. I respect their General Hospital game.
Hell yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's like if you saw my basement, like when I did my interview with Drew last week for Positive Contact, he's been to the house, and I have like a ridiculous wrestling collection. Like I want to start an Instagram page, I think, for all my collectibles. My wife goes, "Oh, good, you can start selling that." I'm like, "No, it's not to sell it; it's to show it off." But it's like any show I work with, like a name, if I don't already have the action figure, I'll buy the action figure because that's my thing. So all on my walls here are all kinds of signed figures, and you know, that's my thing. It's like I don't spend money myself. It's on that shit. So
yeah, I remember American Rana. You had, I believe you had did you have a 2-pack of Rock and Roll Express that you were looking to get signed?
No, I wanted.
Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we did talk about it. I was looking to buy one, but couldn't get my hands on one in time. But I also have a WWE encyclopedia with like 200 autographs in it.
Oh wow,
that's my baby. So. But also at this point, even though I've been working in this business for 26 years, a lot of times I feel embarrassed when I'm working a show.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Asking for an autograph. So, you know, especially if they're like complimentary in my work, and then I'm like, oh, by the way, could I have an autograph too? So it's like, you know, but I mean, I got some great autographs in there, and you know, that's my thing. I'm a fan before I'm anything else. So I'm just a fan that happened to land a job. Side hustle anyways in pro wrestling. I'm very lucky. So
yeah, I kind of had like, you know, a weird experience with that around American Rana time because of the whole sports entertainment experience stuff that was going on. He was very involving with me, and like I had gone to the new place up in Rhode Island, and he had showed me around, and like he was involving me with stuff. So like I was getting coffee for AG and Evie, and I was getting, you know, hanging out with Joey Janela a little bit, and then the Rock and Roll Express the night before I was at the bar hanging out with Ricky Morton. So
so jealous.
It was like, oh my God, it was so cool. So I was having that weekend, and when that whole thing fell apart, I was devastated.
So was I.
I was devastated.
So was I, because you know where I live, I'm about 30 to 35 minutes from Worcester, but I'm about 18 minutes from Pawtucket.
Yeah.
So when everything was going to be in Pawtucket, I had gone there. I'd been there a few times, like you. I had been there and looked around, and you know, thought it was cool. I mean, I still have pictures on my phone to never show anybody because we wanted to have this big unveiling. But you know, and then when everything happened, which you know we don't really need to get
into all that.
But you know, Worcester's not a far cry for me, anyways. But you know, Pawtucket would have been an easier commute. But It's all good.
To me, it was six and one half dozen the other. They're both about an hour away from me, so
Yeah.
It really didn't matter. The one thing that I really liked was the idea of them maybe having camps or something, and I would be able to get in and take some bumps. That was kind of what I was really hoping for. One of the impetuses of me losing weight was like, okay, I'm going to lose some weight. I'm going to get back in shape. I'm going to tighten my back up a little bit, and maybe, give myself like a little bit of not a run, but just to get in there and take some bumps. Because my dream in getting into all this was I met with Ox Baker at 17, and I was set to train with Ox. I was going up to Pomfret. I was heading up to the barn, and I was going to train with Ox. And then that just kind of fell apart, and life happened. And I have my girlfriend, wife now. We ended up having our first kid at 19, married at 19. So 20 years later, here we are.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for. I can get in the ring and take some bumps, but just didn't work out in my favor.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must be getting into fighting weight if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was getting down there. I'm still getting in the weight and getting in shape, but that's more so for health now. And there's no way I'm going to hit the ropes anytime soon. Yeah, I just turned 40, so that's past me.
You and me both. Why do you think I hold a microphone for my side hustle?
Oh man, I'm telling you. So coming up this weekend, what's got you intrigued the most? Which match on the card, or which story have you bought into that you're looking forward to the most for WrestleMania weekend?
Randy Orton and Edge for sure. It's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out in an empty arena, last man standing. Is that what it is? Is it last man standing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, last man standing.
Trying to remember everything. Now I'm really invested in the AJ Styles Undertaker match as well, just because I love everything Taker.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
We get the badass.
Yeah, I felt like we got a little bit of that last night.
The jacket looked off, right? It looked like it was back to a leather jacket. It wasn't the whole dead man gimmick.
And I like that, but not to speak out of both sides of my mouth, but if he's going to come back as American Badass, I don't want to see it at the Performance Center. I want to see it, in front of 50,000 people. So,
especially with that motorcycle entrance, you need to have that. You can't just come out and who knows what a boneyard match is going to be. It's probably something akin to what we're going to see with the Firefly Funhouse thing, where it's probably going to be like a pre-taped, movie feel, special effects. And, I'm kind of looking forward to that. I think they've got the technology, and we talked about the empty arena. I think that they've got the technology now to make it, even though it's empty, make it feel special. Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I want to see is Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar. So, again, not to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but again, that's like, they always talk about that WrestleMania moment. That's the match that you want to have in front of, Raymond James Stadium, 75,000 people. But like you said, they're going to find a way to make it work, and they will. And it's a break from reality.
Mm-hmm.
My break from reality has been watching the old stuff because I'm old. So you just turned 40. I just turned 50 last year. So it's like, I tweeted the other night. It was like I couldn't have been happier. I was watching Classic St. Louis Wrestling, which was a DVD series I think that High Spots had put out years ago. And you can find them all on YouTube. And it was Ken Patera and Bruiser Brody against Pat O'Connor and Rocky Johnson.
Ooh.
And that's what I loved about all that Sam Muchnick St. Louis stuff, because it was all these top names from everywhere. And then, they would all divulge upon St. Louis and have these amazing sold-out shows at the Kiel Auditorium, where the focus, of course, was that NWA title. But I was happier than a pig in shit. I was sitting in my recliner over there, bucket of popcorn and Diet Coke and just watching old wrestling. 'Cause I had never seen that stuff from the 80s. So, to actually watch it, But, that, and I'm trying to read. So it's just, I have so many wrestling books. Like I think JR's newest book came out today. And I said to my wife, I really want to get Jim Ross's book. She goes, why? So you can just pile them up with all the other books you got down there? Because I have a ton of wrestling books. So I actually have the one I'm actually reading right here next to me. So I've actually started, and there's actually a bookmark in there, but reading Pat Patterson's book right now.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So I have a ton of books, and that's what I've been trying to do is, even if it's just like a half hour, Just sit out on my front porch and
This
read.
is what I'm working on.
I'm sorry. Oh, wow.
Jim Smallman's book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a big one, too. That's huge.
Ryan got us all copies for Christmas, and he got them all. They were all inscribed. So,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
It's a great book. Yeah, he's a great guy. And, he's another one of those guys where we've only met him a couple of times. But when we were in New York last year for Mania, we ran into him at all places, the Wrestlemania Superstore. And he remembered us.
Yeah.
So those type of things, when you only run into a guy from the UK a couple of times and he remembers you, it resonates and it makes you feel special. And that's one of the things that wrestling gives you is you get those friendships and those special feelings that guys that you admire and you look up to, like yourself, like Drew, like guys that we've been around for a while. And I appreciate you taking the time even to do this, because this is something small that I do as a hobby to kind of keep connected with wrestling. And, it's fun stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that I always say and my wife gets so sick of hearing me say this, but it's like you have your friends in your life. You got your friends from like grade school and high school that you grew up with. I mean, my best friend is legitimately my best friend, has been since kindergarten.
That's awesome.
He just went through 2 bouts with thyroid cancer. He's a singer in a band. He's trying to regain his voice. Got to go through all this stuff to get his voice back. I just took him up to Manchester, New Hampshire. I bought us 2 tickets to go see Kiss, and I got a hotel room so we could get away from our families. No disrespect, but just have a guy night. And we're huge Kiss fans, and we're on the end of the road tour, for the 50th time. This is the second. This is my second show of this tour that I've already seen. But right at the beginning of February, I was just like, dude, I'm like, you've been through hell with your voice. I said, I'm buying tickets, and we're gonna stay up there for the night. Everything's on me, and we did that. So, you've got those friends, which are few and far between. It's very hard to maintain your friendships with those people because everybody goes their separate ways, depending on where their jobs take them, depends where they live, how many kids they've got, whatever. So you lose touch. Happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got your friends that you work with who are more or less associates because, once you move on or they move on, you lose touch. But in wrestling, it's like we all have this sick bond. We're all brought together by our passion for pro wrestling. So, it's our Comic-Con 365 days a year. Yeah. So you and I can sit here and just shoot the shit on the computer, and probably haven't seen you since Melrose,
Yeah, that's what it's been.
So it's been like a month, but I mean, it's a common thing. Like everybody's using, I forgot what the other platform is to do things like this. There's a new one now Yes, I heard
that's what my kids are using for college classes. Is they're using the Zoom.
Yeah. So I'd love to get on, like, almost have like a party line and see some like round tables with get like Team Pazuzu and have them all calling in and just sharing stories and stuff like that. Because right now that's the new kind of content. Like Drew did the interview with Dickinson. He did one with Christian. He did one with me. He did one with Dave Cole that just released all on YouTube. So it's like all these different things. And he just released a shoot interview he did with Keith Lee before he left for WWE. So that's on IWTV. So that's the other thing. I mean, independent wrestling TV for us indie junkies, there's so much stuff on there. It's the best $10 a month you can spend. And now
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead, please.
Did you happen to watch the GCW shows they just did?
The Acid Cup?
Yeah, the Trent Acid Cup. I
love
the whole idea of they did the Indiegogo where people could donate to the wrestlers. They raised over $10,000 on those 2 shows, and that money went directly to the boys and girls on the card. That I think rang special and really cool.
Yeah, and that just goes back to what I was saying about this community of wrestling fans and wrestlers and stuff. And like I said, I mean, the fans are what makes them performing worth it, without them there. Like my son said, can't you do uncharted territory in an empty building? I said, first of all, no, because you can't have you can only have X number of people in a room now. But 2, it's like, I go out and do some grocery shopping, and my wife's like, all right, all those clothes you have on, there's got to go in the wash right now. Take your shoes off in the garage, But I mean, I totally get it. And I don't mean to make this podcast about my wife, but my wife had a brain tumor like
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, like a year and a half ago. So her immune system is not the same
you
as.
You have to take it seriously.
Yeah, so she, we bring the groceries home and she's got the Clorox wipes and she's wiping them all down because she's more apt to get it than I am or than the kids are. So we can't mess around with that. So it's like at first I was like, don't let the media scare you into staying home and not coming to such and such a show. Now it's like, no, this is a real friggin' thing. So
yeah.
That's why I say when people say, "Oh, we were robbed of WrestleMania," fuck you. We're dealing with real life here.
We're living, we're breathing, we're enjoying wrestling. That's really what it comes down to is count your blessings and make sure you kiss your loved ones and you talk to your friends and you keep in touch, but enjoy wrestling and just enjoy life.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. Wrestling's going to have its day again, but it's
it will.
It's just weird like watching that WrestleMania in Dallas in front of 100,000 people on ESPN the other night. You really take that stuff for granted. You really do.
Yeah.
But
well, I really appreciate you taking the time for me tonight, and maybe I'll shoot you the link for to hop in and say hi on Sunday or Saturday if you're around and you want to just pop in and say hi to the guys during WrestleMania while we're doing our little hangout, for a minute just to pop.
Definitely.
Pop the boys a little bit,
Send it to me in advance. Like I said, I break technology, so as long as I have enough time. I was outside like taking the trash out, and my wife's like, "Oh, can we do this? And how about if we go fix that?" And I'm like, I gotta remember how to get on Skype. So that's the truth.
I hear you.
Technologically,
if you don't do it every day, you don't know how to do it. I get it. I absolutely get it.
That's it.
But put out your handles and where guys can find you, where people can see you, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, Facebook Rich Palladino, at Rich Palladino on Twitter, and Ringside Rich on Instagram. Stop by, say hello, drop me a note, whatever, shoot the shit. It's what keeps us all sane, I guess. So and thank you for having me on the show. It's been a lot of fun.
Listen, I really appreciate it, and don't forget, people, get that T-shirt, that one fall T-shirt. Rich has got a box of them. Let's help. Let's help. Rich, thanks again. If I don't see you before our next show, stay safe, stay healthy. Send my love to your family, and we'll get through this together.
My same sentiments to you, my friend.
Hey, man, and enjoy WrestleMania.
You too.
We'll talk to you later, buddy.
Thank you.
And there you have it. That's our conversation for the week with my friend, the voice of Northeast Wrestling, Rich Palladino. I can't thank Rich enough for coming on and taking the time out of his night to hang out and shoot the shit with us about wrestling, about the pandemic, about WrestleMania, and Rich is just a great guy, and I'm glad he came on. I'm glad you guys got to hear this. Give us a good old retweet, thumbs up, like the video, do everything that needs to get more people's eyeballs on this, because it was a really good conversation. I had a great time doing it. So so for the Dude Dope Shit Squad, I am Len Anderson, and this has been a conversation with Rich Palladino. Our next show will be out soon. I'm not sure who's next. I'm going to reach out to some more guys, and maybe Rich will help us put a word out to some of the boys, and maybe we can get maybe AG on here. Maybe I'll reach out to AG, see what we can do with that. All right, everybody. Just remember, enjoy WrestleMania. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Wrestling will help us get through this. Wash your hands. Wash your butt. Watch wrestling, as our friend Ethan Page, played by Julian, likes to say. And as Ryan, Conrad, Jamie, and I like to say, do the dope shit.